Identity transformation happens at multiple levels simultaneously, and understanding these levels is crucial for creating lasting change rather than temporary shifts that eventually revert to old patterns. The first level is conscious beliefs. These are the thoughts and ideas you're aware of having about yourself. Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm your host, Brian Scott, and today we're talking about why your biggest manifestations require you to become someone new. There is a reason why your biggest dreams feel so impossible to achieve. It's not because you lack the techniques, the vision, or even the dedication. It's because the person you are right now cannot receive the life you're trying to create. The version of yourself that exists today was formed by experiences, beliefs, and patterns that created your current reality. And your current reality, by definition, does not include the manifestations you're seeking. This is the manifestation paradox that keeps most people stuck in cycles of wanting, trying, and failing. They're attempting to create new realities while maintaining the same identity that generated their current circumstances. Today, I want to show you why your biggest manifestations aren't just about changing what you have, but about fundamentally transforming who you are. Why quantum leaps in your external reality require quantum leaps in your internal identity. And most importantly, how to become the person who naturally lives the life you've been trying to create. This is an activation. Every word I'm using, every sequence of frequencies is designed to actually create this change within you. But this is also a teaching. Because here's what I discovered. After decades of studying manifestation and transformation, the universe is not withholding your dreams from you. You're just not yet the person who can receive them. Most people think manifestation works like placing an order with the universe. Sometimes it works that way when it's consistent with who you are. You visualize what you want, you do the techniques, you maintain positive thoughts, and eventually the universe delivers your request. But this mechanical approach ignores the most fundamental principle of how reality actually operates. Reality is not created by what you want, or even what you believe is possible. Reality is created by who you are at the deepest levels of identity. Your external circumstances are always a perfect reflection of your internal sense of self. Not who you think you are, not who you want to be, but who you actually are in the core of your being. Your identity operates like a thermostat for your life experiences. Just as a thermostat maintains a specific temperature by making constant adjustments, your identity maintains a specific level of success, love, abundance, and fulfillment by unconsciously creating experiences that match your deepest beliefs about what you deserve and what's possible for someone like you. This is why you can have breakthrough moments where you glimpse higher possibilities, but then find yourself pulled back to familiar patterns. It's not self-sabotage in the way most people understand it. It's identity regulation. Your unconscious mind is trying to maintain coherence between who you are and what you experience. I learned this lesson through my own manifestation journey. For years, I was trying to create success as a teacher and guide while maintaining an identity rooted in struggle and scarcity, and I didn't even know it. I'd grown up with beliefs that spiritual people shouldn't be concerned with material success, that money was somehow unspiritual, that I had to choose between helping people and creating abundance. The thing is, I wasn't even aware I had these beliefs until I started to teach about abundance. These beliefs were so deeply embedded in my sense of self that every time I started to experience greater success, something would happen to bring me back down to my identity baseline. I was even teaching identity shifting at the time. I would make decisions that limited my income, avoid opportunities that felt too big, or unconsciously create problems that required me to focus on survival rather than expansion. This was my pattern. It wasn't until I realized that my manifestation work needed to be identity work that everything changed. Instead of trying to create success as someone who believed success was dangerous or unspiritual, I had to become someone for whom success felt natural, deserved, and aligned with my deepest values. This identity shift did not happen overnight, and it wasn't just about changing my thoughts or beliefs. It required a fundamental reconstruction of my sense of self at levels I hadn't even known existed. It meant examining and transforming core assumptions about who I was, what I was capable of, and what was possible for someone with my background, my personality, my circumstances. The moment I truly embodied the identity of someone who could serve at high level while creating abundance, my external reality shifted to match. Not because the universe suddenly decided to grant my wishes, but because I had become someone who naturally made choices, took actions, and created relationships that generated the reality I had been trying to manifest for years. The reason most manifestation techniques produce temporary results at best is because they're trying to change the effect without transforming the cause. They're focused on external symptoms of identity rather than the internal source. Traditional manifestation approaches teach you to visualize your desired outcomes, affirm positive statements, create vision boards, and maintain optimistic thoughts. And those things work up to a point. They can be helpful for clarifying what you want and creating emotional alignment with your goals. But they don't address the fundamental identity patterns that created your current reality in the first place. Think about it this way. If you're trying to manifest $1 million income while maintaining an identity that believes money doesn't grow on trees, rich people are greedy, or I'm not the type of person who makes that kind of money, you're working against yourself at the deepest levels. Your conscious mind might be visualizing abundance, but your unconscious identity is creating experiences that prove your limiting beliefs correct. This creates an exhausting internal battle between what you want to create and who you believe you are. You might have moments of progress, temporary breakthroughs, or partial successes, but you'll inevitably be pulled back to experiences that match your core identity patterns. I see this constantly in my work with people who've been trying to manifest the same things for years. They've read all the books, done all the techniques, attended the workshops, but they're still struggling with the same core issues. When I dig deeper, I always find that they're trying to create new realities while maintaining old identities. For example, someone trying to manifest their soulmate while maintaining an identity that believes all the good ones are taken. I'm not attractive enough, or love never works out for me. Or someone trying to create a successful business while holding an identity that believes I don't have what it takes. Success requires compromising your values, or people like me don't become entrepreneurs. The techniques aren't the problem. The identity is the bottleneck. Most of your identity programming is unconscious. These aren't beliefs you consciously chose. They are patterns that were formed through childhood experiences, cultural conditioning, TV shows you watch, family dynamics, and past traumas. They operate below the level of your awareness, automatically generating thoughts, emotions, and behaviors that create experiences consistent with these unconscious programs. This is why willpower and positive thinking alone rarely create lasting change. You're trying to override unconscious programming with conscious effort, which is like trying to steer a ship by blowing on the sails while ignoring the rudder. Real manifestation requires going deeper than techniques and tactics. It requires examining and transforming the core identity patterns that are unconsciously creating your current reality. It requires becoming someone new at levels so fundamental that your new reality feels not just possible, but inevitable. Identity transformation happens at multiple levels simultaneously, and understanding these levels is crucial for creating lasting change rather than temporary shifts that eventually revert to old patterns. The first level is conscious beliefs. These are the thoughts and ideas you're aware of having about yourself, about reality, and about what's possible. This is the level most self-help focuses on, and while it's important, it's also the most superficial level of identity. You can change your conscious beliefs relatively easily through affirmations, cognitive restructuring, and mental practices. But if these new beliefs aren't supported by deeper levels of identity, they'll remain fragile and temporary. The second level is emotional programming. These are the feeling patterns that were established early in your life and that automatically activate in response to certain situations. For example, if you experienced rejection or abandonment in childhood, you might have emotional programs that automatically generate anxiety or withdrawal whenever you're in situations that require vulnerability or intimacy. These emotional programs operate much faster than conscious thought. By the time you're aware of feeling anxious, rejected, or unworthy, the emotional program has already activated and begun generating thoughts and behaviors consistent with that emotional state. The third level is somatic identity. This is how your nervous system, your posture, your breathing patterns, and your overall physical presence embody your sense of self. Someone with a confident identity carries themselves differently, breathes differently, takes up space differently than someone with an insecure identity. Your body is constantly communicating your deepest sense of self to the world, and the world responds accordingly. If your somatic identity communicates insecurity, unworthiness, or limitation, you'll unconsciously attract experiences that confirm these communications. The fourth level is energetic identity. This is the frequency or vibration that you emit based on your overall state of consciousness. People with abundant identities emit a different energetic signature than people with scarcity identities. People with loving identities emit different frequencies than people with fearful identities. This energetic level is where the law of attraction actually operates. You don't attract what you want, or even what you believe is possible. You attract what matches your energetic signature, which is determined by your deepest sense of self. The fifth and deepest level is archetypal identity. These are the fundamental roles, patterns, and mythic structures that organize your entire sense of self. Are you fundamentally the victim, or the hero of your story, the student or the teacher, the servant or the leader? These archetypal patterns operate at such deep levels that they influence every aspect of your experience. They determine not just what you do, but how you perceive situations, what options you see as available, and what roles you naturally step into in relationships and circumstances. True identity transformation requires working at all these levels simultaneously. You need to shift conscious beliefs, reprogram emotional patterns, embody new somatic states, emit different energetic frequencies, and step into new archetypal roles. This is why identity transformation is rarely a quick or simple process. You're not just changing your mind, you're rewiring your entire system at multiple levels to support a fundamentally different way of being in the world. The key to successful manifestation isn't just knowing what you want to create. It's becoming the person who would naturally have what you want before it shows up in your external reality. This requires a process I call future self-embodiment, living from the identity of your desired reality rather than trying to create your desired reality from your current identity. Future self-embodiment goes far beyond visualization or imagination. It's about making real, practical changes in how you think, feel, and act based on who you would be if you already had what you were trying to manifest. It's about closing the gap between your current identity and your future identity before the external circumstances change. For example, if you're trying to manifest financial abundance, you need to become someone who thinks, feels, and acts abundant before the money shows up. This doesn't mean pretending you have money you don't have or making financially irresponsible decisions. It means developing the mindset, the emotional patterns, the decision-making processes, and the energy of someone who has a healthy, abundant relationship with money. An abundant person thinks differently about opportunities, challenges, and possibilities. They feel differently about money, success, and their own value. They make different choices about how to spend their time, who to associate with, and what risks to take. They carry themselves differently, communicate differently, and show up in the world with a different presence. If you can embody these identity changes while you're still in the process of creating external abundance, you become someone who naturally attracts opportunities, makes better financial decisions, and creates value in ways that generate income. The external abundance becomes a natural consequence of the internal transformation. This process requires deep honesty about the gaps between who you are now and who you need to become. Most people want to change the circumstances without changing themselves. That's not how manifestation works at the quantum level. I learned this through my own journey of stepping into larger levels of service and impact. I spent years trying to create a global platform for consciousness work while maintaining an identity that was comfortable with small local influence. I wanted to reach millions of people, but I was someone who felt safe in intimate settings with people I already knew. The breakthrough came when I realized I needed to become someone who was naturally comfortable with global visibility, mass influence, and the responsibility that comes with serving at scale before I tried to create those circumstances. I had to transform my identity around visibility, influence, leadership, and impact. This transformation involved examining my fears about being seen, my beliefs about authority and leadership, my comfort levels with different types of attention, and my sense of responsibility for how my work affects others. It required rewiring emotional patterns around performance, criticism, success, and failure. Most importantly, it required me to start making decisions, taking actions, and showing up in ways that were consistent with someone who already had global influence, even when my current circumstances didn't match that reality yet. The external manifestation followed naturally once the internal transformation was complete. Not because the universe rewarded my visualization, but because I had become someone who naturally made choices and took actions that created global reach and impact. Creating quantum leaps in your reality requires understanding that identity transformation is not always a gradual process. Sometimes you need to make sudden, dramatic shifts in who you are to access realities that are far beyond incremental improvement from your current circumstances. Gradual identity evolution works well for modest improvements and steady success, but quantum leaps require identity interruption, moments where you consciously choose to step outside your current identity patterns and into new ways of being that feel unfamiliar and sometimes uncomfortable. The process requires several elements that are difficult to create in normal daily life circumstances. First, you need concentrated focus and intensity. Identity transformation requires more energy and attention than most people have available while managing their normal responsibilities. You need periods of intensive work where transformation is your primary focus rather than something you try to do around the edges of your regular life. Second, you need environmental disruption. Your current environment is organized around maintaining your current identity. Your living space, your relationships, your routines, your job, and your responsibilities all reinforce who you've been rather than supporting who you are becoming. Sometimes you need to step outside these environmental patterns to create space for new identity structures to emerge. Third, you need expert guidance through the process. Identity transformation can be disorienting and challenging. Having someone who understands the territory and can help you navigate the difficulties makes the difference between successful transformation and getting lost in the process. Fourth, you need witness consciousness, being seen and reflected by others in your new identity who can recognize and acknowledge your emerging identity, help stabilize the new patterns. When you're the only one witnessing your transformation, it's easy to doubt whether the changes are real or sustainable. Fifth, you need community support. Identity transformation happens more easily when you're surrounded by others who are also committed to growth and evolution. Being part of a group that's collectively moving toward higher possibilities creates momentum that's difficult to generate alone. These elements rarely align naturally in normal life circumstances. This is why most people's transformation happens gradually and incrementally, if it happens at all. They're trying to create new identities while maintaining all the structures that reinforce their old identities. They're comfortable with the old identity, but they want to shift into a new one. Am I talking to you? But when you consciously create optimal conditions for identity transformation, quantum leaps become possible. When you combine concentrated focus, environmental disruption, expert guidance, witness consciousness, and community support, you can accomplish identity shifts in days or weeks that might normally take months or years. This is where my future self-integration technique becomes absolutely crucial. After decades of experimenting with different transformation methods, I've discovered that future self-integration is the most powerful identity shifting technique I've ever encountered, beyond quantum jumping or reality transurfing or anything like that. Nothing else comes close to creating the depth and speed of transformation that this process can generate. What makes it so uniquely effective is instead of trying to change your current identity through willpower or affirmations or gradual conditioning, future self-integration allows you to completely step into and embody the complete identity on an energetic level of your future self from your greatest timeline in the quantum field. This is a sort of walk-in integration where your consciousness merges with and takes on the full identity matrix of your most evolved future self. The results are extraordinary. People who experience deep future self-integration don't just gain insights or shift some patterns. They wake up and find they're someone completely new. Their entire way of thinking, feeling, and being in the world has transformed overnight. They naturally make different choices, respond to situations differently, and show up in the world with a completely different presence. I'm able to take this integration to another level in my live events because over 3 days, I allow you to energize, merge with, talk to, and completely become your future self. I've guided thousands of people through this process, and I'm continually amazed by the profound transformations that occur. People will go to sleep one night as their current self and wake up the next morning embodying the identity of their future self so completely that their friends and family notice the change immediately. And this is not temporary. When the integration is complete, the transformation is permanent because you're not trying to maintain a new identity through effort. You've actually become that future self. The old patterns, limitations, and ways of being simply do not exist in your new identity matrix. They dissolve away. And it can work with one meditation or two, or doing a meditation over a period of time, but I have found nothing more effective than doing it in a live in-person setting where you are immersively meditating over several days. This is where the rubber meets the road, where the transformation really happens. This is why I'm so passionate about doing live events, even when it was uncomfortable for me, or more specifically, it was just more comfortable for me to stay at home. Because for me to facilitate the greatest transformation in you, I need to up my game and take it to another level. But what is crucial to understand is this level of integration requires very specific conditions and expert guidance. You're not just connecting with your future self for inspiration or insight. You're allowing your current identity, which you're very comfortable with, to dissolve so that your future self identity can fully inhabit your consciousness and body. This is profound transformation that needs to be navigated safely and skillfully. I've seen people attempt future self-integration on their own and get lost in the process because they didn't understand how to manage the identity dissolution phase or how to complete the integration successfully. This is advanced consciousness work that benefits enormously from having someone who understands the territory guide you through each stage. I've seen this happen repeatedly in intensive transformation experiences. People who have been stuck in the same patterns for years suddenly break through into new identities when the right conditions are present and when they are guided through complete future self-integration. They don't just learn new techniques or gain new insights, they become fundamentally different people who naturally create different realities. This is what led me to design the most transformational event I've ever created, because I realized that the people who are ready for quantum leaps in their manifestations need more than information or individual guided meditations or techniques. They need the optimal conditions for complete future self-integration and identity transformation. We're gathering in Los Angeles from November 21st through the 23rd specifically to create the perfect environment for the kind of identity shifts that make quantum manifestations possible. This isn't just another event about manifestation techniques. This is an intensive identity transformation experience designed to help you become the person who naturally lives the life you've been trying to create. For more information, you can go to the link in the description, which is www.brianscottlive.com/event-November. Now, I want to guide you through a process that will help you begin embodying your future self-identity before your manifestations arrive. Find a comfortable position and close your eyes. Take several deep breaths, feeling yourself settling into your body and into this moment where transformation is always possible. Begin by connecting with your current identity. Without judgment, simply acknowledge who you are right now. Feel your current beliefs about yourself, your capabilities, your limitations. Feel the emotional patterns that are familiar to you. Notice how you carry yourself, how you breathe, how you take up space in the world. The current identity is not wrong. It's not bad. It's simply the result of your experiences and conditioning up to this point. That's how it is for everybody. But it may not be the identity that can receive the life of your dreams, the life you're trying to create. You wouldn't be listening to this if you didn't want this. Now bring to mind something significant you want to manifest. Not just any goal, but something that would represent a quantum leap in your life. Something that feels exciting, but also somewhat impossible from your current vantage point. Feel into why this manifestation feels impossible or difficult. What would need to be different about you to naturally have this in your life? What beliefs would need to change? What emotional patterns would need to shift? What would you need to think differently about yourself, about reality, about what's possible? Don't try to figure this out logically. Simply feel into the gap between who you are now and who you would need to be to naturally live this reality. Now I want you to imagine that you can step forward in time and connect with the version of yourself who already has this manifestation. This is a real aspect of your consciousness that exists in a timeline where you have already become the person who naturally creates and maintains this reality. Feel this future self's presence. Notice how different they feel from your current self. Pay attention to their energy, their confidence, their way of being in the world. How do they carry themselves? How do they breathe? What kind of thoughts naturally occur to them? How do they feel about themselves and their capabilities? This future self is not someone who has what you want. They are someone who has become the type of person who naturally creates and maintains what you want. Feel the identity transformation that had to occur for them to live in this reality. Now ask this future self, what did you have to release to become who you are? What beliefs, patterns, or aspects of identity did you need to let go of? Listen to their response. You might hear words, feel insights, or receive knowing. They might show you specific beliefs that have to be transformed, emotional patterns that need healing, or ways of being that had to be released. Next, ask, what did you have to embrace to become who you are? What new beliefs, patterns, or aspects of identity did you need to develop? Again, receive their guidance. They might share new ways of thinking about yourself, new emotional patterns. Now comes the crucial part. Ask your future self, how can I begin embodying your identity now? Before the external manifestation appears, what practical changes can I make in how I think, feel, and act that will align me with your reality? This is not about pretending or faking. It's about identifying real practical shifts you can make in your daily life that move you closer to your future self's identity. They might suggest changes in how you make decisions, how you spend your time, how you relate to others, or how you handle challenges. Feel yourself receiving this guidance. Notice that it might push you outside your comfort zone. Your future self exists because they are willing to become someone new, which required releasing the safety and familiarity of old patterns. Now, with your future self's guidance, begin experimenting with embodying aspects of their identity now. Feel how they would sit in their body. Breathe the way they breathe. Let your facial expression shift to match their confidence and peace. Notice how different this feels from your normal way of being. This discomfort is normal. You're trying on an identity that isn't yet familiar. From this future self state, look back at your current life circumstances. Notice how different your challenges look from this perspective. Problems that seem overwhelming from your current identity might appear as opportunities or stepping stones from your future self's viewpoint. Feel your future self's certainty that your manifestation is inevitable, because you become the person who naturally creates these realities. This is the deep knowing that comes from embodying the identity that matches your desires. Now make a commitment to begin living from this new identity in practical ways. Choose one specific change you can make in how you think, feel, or act that aligns you with this identity, something you can begin implementing immediately. Feel this commitment anchoring in your system. Know that every time you choose to act from this new identity, rather than your current identity limitations, you're collapsing the timeline between where you are and where you want to be. Now express gratitude to your future self for their guidance and their willingness to share their identity with you. Know that they exist not as a separate being, but as an aspect of your own consciousness outside of time and space that you can access whenever you need support in transformation. Take several deep breaths, feeling yourself integrating the insights and energy shifts from this experience. Feel how different you are after connecting with your future self identity. This is just the beginning. There's so much more that you can do as a part of this process. When you're ready, gently open your eyes, carrying the energy and awareness of your future self back into your normal consciousness. What you just experienced is the beginning of what's possible when you approach manifestation as identity rather than technique. But this kind of transformation accelerates exponentially when you create optimal conditions and have expert guidance through the process. Identity transformation is delicate work. You're not just changing habits or behaviors, you're rewiring fundamental aspects of who you are at conscious, unconscious, emotional, somatic, energetic, and archetypal levels. This requires more than good intention and occasional practice. The most profound identity transformations I've witnessed have happened in intensive, immersive environments where people can focus completely on becoming who they need to be rather than trying to transform around the edges of maintaining their current identity structures. When you're in an environment specifically designed for transformation, surrounded by others who are also committed to fundamental change, guided by someone who understands the process intimately, supported by practices and frameworks that address all levels of identity, that's when quantum leaps become possible. This is why I've become so passionate about creating experiences that provide all these elements simultaneously, because I've seen how dramatically people can transform when the right conditions are present. That's what led me to design this 3-day intensive experience in Los Angeles on November 21st through the 23rd. We're creating the perfect laboratory for identity transformation, where you can safely and effectively become the person who naturally manifests the reality you've been trying to create. This is not about learning a new technique, though you'll certainly discover powerful methods. This is about fundamental identity reconstruction, guided by someone who has navigated this process successfully and helped thousands of others do the same. My friends Kyle Boyd and Leah Rush, perhaps you got a chance to watch our recent interview from the Heart Coherence Collaborative, will be there to help create physiological coherence that makes identity transformation possible. When your nervous system is regulated and your heart is in coherence, your capacity for change, for embodying a new identity, increases dramatically. What makes this gathering unique for manifestation work is we're specifically focused on helping you become someone new rather than wanting something new. We're creating the conditions where you can safely release old identity patterns and step into ways of being that naturally generate realities you desire. Your biggest manifestations aren't delayed because the universe is testing your patience or because you haven't found the right technique. They're waiting because you haven't become the person who can receive them. But the beautiful truth is the identity transformation required for quantum leaps is not as far away as it might seem. The version of yourself who naturally lives your desired reality already exists within your consciousness. You don't have to create them from scratch. You just need to remember how to access and embody that aspect of who you truly are. The process you experience today is always available to you. That future self is always ready to share their identity, their wisdom, their way of being in the world. They are you. The question is, are you ready to release who you've been to become who you're meant to be? If you're feeling called to accelerate this transformation, to experience what identity work looks like when all the optimal conditions are present, I invite you to join us in Los Angeles. You can find all the details at www.brianscottlive.com/event-November. Whether you join us there or pursue this work through your own practice, remember, your manifestations aren't coming to your current self. They're waiting for you to become the person who naturally creates and maintains the reality you desire. That person is not some distant possibility. They are an aspect of your consciousness that's ready to emerge right now. All you have to do is give yourself permission to become someone new. Your new identity is calling. Your quantum leap reality is waiting, and the transformation can begin today. I'll see you as the person you're becoming. You can find all episodes of The Reality Revolution at therealityrevolution.com. Be sure to check out my art. You can find it at www.newearth.art. And once again, check out the link below for our event. Early bird pricing is still available until September 15th. And as always, welcome to the Reality Revolution. Hello, it's Brian Scott. And I'm beyond excited to finally announce a live, in-person, 3-day event that I'm hosting in Los Angeles on November 21st through the 23rd. And when you walk away from this event, your life will be changed forever. Whatever it is that you're looking for right now, if you need to heal from something, to find the love of your life, to find wealth, to find your purpose, to ascend, to evolve, whatever that is, whatever your desire, this event is designed to bring that to you. There is a timeline available for you where you can live the very best life that you could ever imagine, where everything is always working out for you. And this event is designed to shift you into that reality and make it something tangible and real that you experience. I promise you that this will change your life.